What if I told you that there is one unmistakable sign when you first have a conversation with someone that is going to tell you whether or not a relationship is doomed from the start? In this video, I'm going to explain what you need to look for when you first have a conversation with someone so that you don't end up spending time on a relationship that goes nowhere or on the wrong person. As a psychic, I share with my clients what they need to look for when they first encounter a person so that they can avoid lots and lots of heartache. They always come back and say that I wish I had known that sooner, although some of them, they may not be very happy because I am predicting a disaster in that relationship. Hello everybody, I am Vaishali Nikhade. I'm an engineer turned psychic with over 9,000 readings, and I show you how you can leverage the power of stars for your love life. In this video, I'm going to show you how there can be a dead giveaway in your first encounter with someone in terms of a face-to-face meeting or a face-to-face conversation. Knowing this can help you in terms of how you are going to move forward or how you're not going to move forward. So this is what you're going to learn in this video: raising your awareness, asking common questions, observing the body language, picking up clues in the body language, and Renee's story. By the end of this video, you'll feel confident in terms of recognizing some red flags or more than one red flag to look for so that you can steer clear of relationships that are not going to last. Your goal is to figure out what is the obvious giveaway when you first have a face-to-face conversation with this person so that you don't end up wasting time on something that is not going to go anywhere, or essentially you're wasting time on the wrong person. The first point is raising your awareness. Most or many people, they take things for granted. That is because they're kind of living in the same environment over and over, and they need a huge shift or a huge change in their environment in order for them to be able to raise their awareness. So for instance, let's say that you're living in the US and I'm just going to take Renee's example. She is like an example person for this, but let's say that Renee is living in the US and then suddenly she has to go to France. And when she has to go to France, there is chaos because first of all, she does not speak the language and she has never been there before, and the language is different, the culture is also different. And when she goes there, she's going to look at each and everything differently than when she is living in the US. And so living in the US, she has a certain level of awareness, but when she goes to France, her level of awareness is going to be very, very high because she's in a different environment, she's in a different situation, and she has not been in that situation before. And because of that, she is looking and scrutinizing everything very, very differently than what she would if she was in her home country. So that is raising awareness. So now when you meet a person or when you first encounter a person, instead of just like taking things for granted, if you were to raise your awareness, kind of like transporting Renee from US to France, then let's say that you meeting a person is similar to you getting transported from US to France. So think of raising your awareness as you being transported from US to France. Now you're looking at everything very differently. You have the same eyes, but you're looking at it with a different eye. So if you were to raise your awareness when you first meet a person, you're going to be very surprised at what are all the things that you notice. And you'll also be able to connect with the energy of the person. And by connecting to the energy of the person, you'll also be able to kind of find out what the underlying intentions of this person are. What is being said, what is not being said, what he is saying is the truth or it is not the truth. So essentially, you are becoming some sort of a psychic or some sort of a detective or some sort of an intuitive, where you are gathering the data and you're kind of trying to figure out, is this really true? Could this be true? Is he telling the truth? Those kind of things. So that is raising the awareness. So essentially raising the awareness is just looking at all the details when you first have this first face-to-face meeting with this person. So the second part of it is asking very common questions. Now, what are common questions? Common questions could be, where do you live? You're just asking for the name of the city. So there's no harm in this question. The other question could be, what kind of work do you do? Again, it's a harmless question. The third question could be, do you live by yourself? The fourth question could be, do you cook your own food? The fifth question could be, what is your favorite dessert? Like very, very common questions where the person is just going to just blurt out the answer. Those are the kind of questions you want to ask. So that is asking the most common questions. The next part of it is observing their body language. Now, you don't really need to be a body language expert in order to do this. You can just have a heightened awareness. Like we talked before, you need to be able to raise your awareness, which means you're kind of intently looking at the person, but not looking as in staring, but you're kind of observing their reactions or observing how they are acting, how they are behaving when they are answering the question, those kind of things. So when you are looking at their body language or when you're observing the body language, what you're looking for is, are they taking too long to answer the question? For instance, if I were to ask you, where do you live? And you're taking too long to answer the question, potentially there is a problem. So that is the reason I told you that you have to ask very, very simple questions so that the person should be able to just blurt out the answer. The other thing you can see is, are they feeling uncomfortable in answering the question? Are they reacting in some manner? Are they trying to avoid the question? Is something happening with their eyes, as in, are their eyes flinching? So these are the kind of things that you need to observe when you are observing the body language, because all you're doing is you're just asking very, very simple questions. So when you're asking such simple questions, the answers should be instantaneous. There shouldn't really be any delay in the answers. They shouldn't really be reacting in any manner, or there shouldn't be any sort of hesitation when it comes to answering these kind of questions. So the next part is picking up the clues in the body language. So how do you pick up the clues in the body language? Some of the clues you can find is, I mentioned, flinching their eyes. Another clue could be, maybe they are not maintaining the eye contact, maybe they are looking away. And they're looking away as in they're avoiding, which means that either they are not telling the truth or they don't really want to answer that question. So that is essentially, it's showing unwillingness to talk. There could be lack of interest to move the conversation forward if you ask a little bit of an open-ended question. Or they could answer the question in such a way that you get the feeling or you get the impression that they don't really want to talk, or they don't really want to answer the question, or that you're asking the wrong question. So these are the kind of things that you need to look for. So Renee, which is the example for this particular video, she didn't get transported from US to France, but we transported her because we wanted to raise her awareness. So let's say that Renee has now a heightened sense of awareness. So if she has a heightened sense of awareness and she meets this person, we'll call him John or John Doe. So Renee meets this person called John Doe, and then the first thing she is doing is she has a heightened level of awareness, and then the next thing she is doing is she has a list of very common questions, like where do you live, do you cook by yourself, or what city do you live in, those kind of questions. Something for which everyone should be able to just answer those questions almost instantaneously. And then because she has a heightened awareness, she is looking at his body language, and she's trying to see if the body language is giving her any clues as to, essentially what you're looking for is whether or not the person is telling the truth. So she is looking to see whether the body language is kind of giving her clues as to whether or not he's telling the truth. So what happened is she asked him a very common question as to, let's say, what city do you live in? So that wasn't the exact question, but let's say for the sake of this example, it's what city do you live in? And the way he answered that question was a little different. He hesitated a little bit. He avoided eye contact. So that pretty much told Renee that something was wrong or something was off. So now she has her guard up, and she knows that she is going to be treading very, very carefully. And she also knows that she may need to dig into these things a little bit more so that she kind of knows whether to end this relationship or to keep things going, because she has already picked up the clues in the body language. So what happened is, actually, when he was answering this very common question as to where do you live, she found out that he was not telling the truth. And it didn't really take her very long to find that out, maybe like one more meeting, either one or two more meetings. But essentially she found that out, and she kind of caught him in a lie. And she was coming from the place that if he's going to lie to me about one thing, what else is he going to lie to me about? And for her, the deal was essentially off. So that is how she kind of caught him. Now, had she not caught him, the relationship would have gone on for I don't know how long, until at some point things would have kind of fallen apart. So now that you know how to look at the body language of a person when you first have a conversation with them, how can you pick up on the unconscious clues the person is giving to figure out if things are going to move in the forward direction or things are going to hit a roadblock and fall apart? That is the subject of my next video, and I'll see you in my next video.